Northern Humanism. Like their Italian counterparts, Northern humanists cultivated a knowledge of the classics. However, also called Christian humanists, the Northern humanists focused on the sources of early Christianity, the Holy Scripture, and the writings of the Church Fathers like Augustine, Ambrose, and Jerome. In these early Christian writings, they discovered a simple religion that they came to feel had been distorted by the complicated theological arguments of the Middle Ages. The Northern humanists, although scholars, had a tough time finding solid jobs at universities because of their preoccupation with religion. However, they found these positions as secretaries and advisors to kings and princes, where their ability to write and deliver orations made them useful. The most important characteristic of Northern humanism was its reform program. With their belief in the ability of human beings to reason and improve themselves, the Northern humanists felt that through education in the sources of classical and especially Christian antiquity, they could instill a true inner piety and bring about a reform of the church and society. The most influential of all the Christian humanists, and seen as the father of Northern humanism, was Desiderius Erasmus of Rotterdam. By 1500, he had turned seriously towards the religious studies where he concentrated on reconciling the classics and Christianity through their common ethical focus. In the Handbook of the Christian Knight, Erasmus called his conception, quote, the philosophy of Christ, by which he meant that Christianity should be a guiding philosophy for the direction of daily life rather than a system of dogmatic beliefs and practices that the medieval church stressed. In other words, he emphasized personal faith and piety rather than the external forms of religions, like sacraments, fasts, and the veneration of the saints. He wanted to return to the simplicity of the early church and pointed out that all men needed to understand the original meaning of Scripture. Erasmus began to make common sense criticism of the Catholic Church, which is evident in his most famous work, The Praise of Folly. This was a satire of his view on the contemporary society in which folly, personified as a woman, dominates the affairs of humankind. He attacks all groups of society, but was especially harsh on the Catholic clergy. Many discuss how Erasmus laid the egg that Luther hatched. Although he had an impact on Martin Luther, this is an unfair assessment. Erasmus never wanted to leave the Catholic faith, but rather to reform it from within. Another important humanist was Sir Thomas More. Born the son of a London lawyer, he received a good education. Although he trained in law, he took an avid interest in humanism. Like civic humanists in Italy, More embarked on a public career that ultimately took him to the highest reaches of power as Lord Chancellor in England under Henry VIII. A dear friend of Erasmus, More's most famous work was one of the most controversial, Utopia. This was an account of the idealistic life and institutions of the community of Utopia, meaning nowhere, an imaginary island near the New World. It reflects More's own concerns with the economic, social, and political problems of his day. He presented a new social system in which cooperation and reason replaced power and fame as the proper motivating agents for human society. Utopian society, therefore, is based on communal ownership and cooperative living, not private property. It is under Henry VIII that More faces these problems. Eventually, Henry wanted More's support in the divorce of his first wife, which the Catholic Church forbade. His religious devotion and belief in the Universal Catholic Church proved even more important than his service to the king, however. Always the man of conscience, More willingly gave up his life opposing England's break with the Catholic Church, beheaded in 1535.